Have you ever looked at the quiet landscape of your life and wondered, did God miss the timing? Have you ever sat in the silence of your room, staring at a phone that doesn't ring, a door that doesn't open, or a promise that seems to have died in the dust? In the quiet hours, when the rest of the world is asleep, the silence can feel heavier than the loudest storm. It is the midnight silence, the silence that whispers to you in the dark, the silence that says, "You have been forgotten," the silence that insists everyone else is building their lives, while you are left sitting in the ruins of your past. You see them passing you by, day after day, week after week. You scroll through their endless celebrations on your screen. You watch them step into their relationships, their careers, their promotions, and their milestones. They are building houses, starting families, and moving from glory to glory. And you look at your own hands, and you find them completely empty. You look at your bank account, your career, your relationships, and you see nothing but stillness. And in the quiet of the night, you lift your face to the heavens and ask, "Lord, why is my season so quiet? Did I make a mistake? Did I take a wrong turn somewhere back in the road? Did you choose me only to leave me behind in the shadows?" Chosen one, I know you have felt the sting of this isolation. I know you have carried that heavy, crushing pressure in your chest. It is the pressure to force a door open when God has clearly closed it. It is the pressure to build something, anything, just to prove to the onlookers that your life is not a waste. You want to show your family, your friends, and your enemies that you are not the failure they think you are. You want to quiet the whispers of those who watched you enter this quiet season and assumed God had abandoned you. They saw you lose the job. They saw the relationship fall apart. They saw you walk away from the crowd, and they whispered that you lost your way. They whispered that you are finished. And you feel the desperate urge to run out into the light and build a counterfeit success just to silence them. If you are ready to let go of the pressure, to stop running ahead, and to trust God's winter, I want you to write "I will not settle" in the comments below. Let this be your declaration of faith. But every time you try to force a connection, it breaks in your hands. Every time you try to run ahead of the cloud, you find yourself lost in the desert. Every time you try to open a door that God has double-bolted, you only end up bruising your own hands. Why? Because God is deliberately holding you in the quiet. He is keeping you in the shade. He has wrapped you in a cloak of obscurity, not to punish you, not because He has forgotten His promises to you, not because He is ignoring your tears, but to prepare the seed. Consider the winter seed. When you look at a field in the middle of winter, you see nothing but cold, grey dirt. The ground is frozen solid. There are no leaves on the trees. There are no flowers blooming in the garden. There is no visible sign of life anywhere. If a child walked past that field, they might look at it and say, "What a dead place. Nothing is happening here. The soil is empty and the life has gone." But beneath the frozen soil, out of sight, beneath 3 feet of dirt, the seed is waiting. It is not dead. It is not sleeping. It is curing. It is absorbing the quiet nutrients of the soil. It is building its casing, strengthening its core, and preparing for the sudden, violent burst of spring. If the seed were to sprout too early, the frost of January would kill it. If it pushed through the soil before the winter had finished its work, the young, tender plant would wither and die. It would not have the strength to survive the wind. The winter is not the enemy of the seed. The winter is the protector of the seed. And chosen one, this silence is your winter. The rejection you experienced last year was not a mistake. It was the frost clearing away the weeds that would have choked your destiny. The doors that slammed in your face were not a tragedy. They were the walls of the greenhouse, keeping you safe from the harsh elements outside. The isolation you feel is not a prison. It is a fortress of protection. They looked at your quietness and called it a failure. But God looked at your quietness and called it incubation. They saw a delay, a setback, a waste of time. God saw the curing of a root system that would soon support a massive generational harvest. They said, "It is over for them. They will never recover." God said, "Watch what happens when the season shifts." So, when the whispers come and they ask you why you are still waiting, when they ask you why you are still in the shadows while others are shining, you do not have to explain the winter to people who only understand the harvest. You do not have to defend the dirt because they cannot see what is growing underground. They can only see the empty field. They can only see the quietness. But the field is not empty. It is pregnant with your future. It is rich with the promises of God that are about to burst forth. And the Master Gardener is watching over every single day of the quiet. He has not turned his back on you. He is monitoring the temperature of the soil. He is measuring the depth of your roots. So do not try to force the spring. Stop trying to dig up the seed to see if it is still there. Every time you worry, every time you try to force a door, you are digging up the seed, exposing it to the cold, and delaying the harvest. Stop trying to revive the dead branches that were pruned away in the last season. Let the dead things stay dead. They were removed to save the root. The space was cleared to give you room to grow. And the delay you are experiencing right now is not a mistake. It is the maturation of your calling, because what God is about to bring forth in your life is not a temporary flower that blooms for a day and fades in the afternoon sun. It is an oak of righteousness, a structure that will stand for generations, a tree of life that requires deep, strong, quiet roots. And roots can only grow in the dark. Roots can only grow in the silence. Chosen One, the Creator of the seasons, has never missed the spring. He has never forgotten a seed in the dirt. He has never let the winter last a day longer than necessary. He who began the work in the dark is faithful to bring it into the light. The silence is not empty. It is the laboratory of your destiny. So hold your peace. Do not let your heart be troubled. The curing is happening. The roots are deep, and the breakthrough is already preparing to break through the ground. But even when we understand the metaphor of the winter seed, the daily reality of the silence remains incredibly hard. Why does the construction phase have to last so long? Why must the mess of the preparation remain in plain sight of those who mocked you? If you are a chosen one, you have likely asked these questions in the quiet of the night. You lie awake, staring at the dark ceiling, listening to the ticking of the clock, and you wonder why God is taking so long to build the new structure. You feel the weight of the delay like a heavy physical burden on your chest. You ask, "Lord, if you are going to restore me, why not do it now? Why must I walk through this long, embarrassing valley of quietness? Why do my enemies get to celebrate their victories while I am forced to sit in the ruins?" It is during these long, quiet stretches that the enemy whispers his most dangerous lies. He comes to you in your moments of exhaustion. He whispers that the silence is proof of God's rejection. He tells you that the door has been locked from the inside and that your prayers are simply bouncing off a brass heaven. He whispers, if he loved you, he would have answered by now. If you were truly chosen, you wouldn't be sitting here in this empty room. But you must understand that the silence of God is not the cold, unfeeling silence of an absent creator. We are not the first to walk this narrow, quiet path. Many years ago, a brilliant Oxford scholar and writer named C.S. Lewis walked through his own deep winter of the soul. Lewis was a man who understood grief. He understood war, he understood loss, and he understood the agonizing pain of a silent heaven. He was a man who used his massive intellect to defend the Christian faith to millions. Yet there were seasons when even his great mind could not find the answers to the silence of God. After experiencing a devastating personal loss, Lewis cried out to heaven, expecting a clear, immediate, and logical response. He wanted explanations. He wanted reasons for his pain. Instead, he was met with what felt like a double-bolted door and complete, absolute silence. But as he waited in that dark, quiet space, refusing to walk away from his faith, his perspective began to shift. He realized that his questions were too small for the reality of God. In his deeply personal book, A Grief Observed, Lewis wrote about what happens when we lay our heaviest questions before the Lord. When I lay these questions before God, I get no answer, but a rather special sort of no answer. It is not the locked door. It is more like a silent, certainly not uncompassionate gaze, as if he shook his head not in refusal but waving the question, like, "Peace, child, you do not understand." Think about that description. A silent, certainly not uncompassionate gaze. When you cry out for answers and you receive only silence, it is not because God is ignoring you. It is because He is looking at you. His eyes are fixed upon you, full of love, full of mercy, and full of quiet understanding. He is not slamming the door in your face. He is shaking his head gently, as a loving father shakes his head at a child who is crying because they do not understand the blueprint of the house being built. The child wants the walls up today, but the father knows the concrete must cure first. The child wants to play in the ruins, but the father knows it is not safe. The father is looking at you right now in your quiet room and saying, "Peace, child, you do not understand what I am doing, but you can trust my gaze." The silence of God is actually the safety of God. If He answered every question you asked in your moments of panic, He would have to explain the pain of the pruning. He would have to show you the chisel before you are strong enough to bear the carve. He would have to reveal the battles ahead before you have the armor to fight them. So, instead of explaining, He simply gazes upon you. He holds you in His sight, preserving you in the quiet until the time is right. This is what the scriptures call the peace that surpasses all understanding. It is a peace that does not make sense to the logical mind. It is the peace of being watched over by a loving Father, even when the world around you is collapsing. In the book of Psalms, chapter 46, verse 10, the Lord speaks a command that sounds simple, yet is the hardest thing for a chosen one to do. Be still and know that I am God. Be still. In the original Hebrew language, that phrase, "be still," does not just mean to stop moving. The word is rapha. It means to let go. It means to cease striving. It means to relax your grip on the things you cannot control. It means to take your hands off the steering wheel of your life. It means to stop trying to force the doors of opportunity to open and to drop the heavy weapons of your self-defense. God is telling you, let go of the control. Let go of the need to prove yourself to those who do not understand your winter. Stand still in my gaze. He is saying, I will fight your battles. I will build your house. I will establish your name. But you must let go. If you can feel the truth of this message right now, if you are ready to stop striving, to drop your weapons, and to rest in the silent, loving gaze of the Father, I want you to make a declaration of faith. Write the word justice in the comment section below. By typing this, you are declaring that you release the need to vindicate yourself to those who mocked you. You are declaring that you trust His silence more than your own plans. You are letting go of the steering wheel and trusting that the Creator of the seasons is guiding you through the dark. You are telling the enemy that you will no longer fight in your own strength. Take a deep breath, chosen one. The door is not locked. The Father is simply looking at you, preparing you for the moment when the silence will finally break. But there are times when the silence does not feel like a peaceful, loving gaze. Sometimes the silence feels like a sharp, devastating blow. It feels like something is being violently torn away from you, cut out of your life without your permission and without your understanding. In this season of waiting, you have likely felt the deep pain of rejection. You have felt the agony of a door that was slammed shut just as you were about to walk through it. You have had to stand by in silence and watch relationships crumble, opportunities dry up, money vanish, and dreams fall apart. You feel stripped. You feel exposed. You look at the empty space in your life where your friends, your reputation, and your security used to be, and you feel a deep, aching void. And in your pain, you cry out to the heavens, "Lord, why are you hurting me? Why are you breaking down what I worked so hard to build? Why must you tear away the things that gave me comfort?" Chosen one, you must understand that when God is preparing you for a greater destiny, He does not just build. First, He must sculpt. And sculpting requires a chisel. To understand this pain, we must look at another profound metaphor from C.S. Lewis. Lewis understood that our trials are not meant to destroy us, but to shape us for a glory we cannot yet conceive. He compared our human lives to a rough, raw block of wood in the hands of a master artisan. In his classic book, Mere Christianity, Lewis wrote about this painful but necessary process. We are like wood in the hands of a sculptor. He cuts and carves because he wants to make a shape that is beautiful. The wood does not understand the pain of the chisel, but the sculptor knows the finished work. Let that sink deep into your heart. The wood does not understand the pain of the chisel. When the chisel strikes, the wood only feels the blunt impact. It feels the sharp, biting blade, cutting deep into its fibers. It feels the weight of the hammer blow after blow. If the wood could speak, it would cry out in anger and confusion, "Stop! You are destroying me. You are throwing pieces of my life onto the floor. I was a perfectly fine block of wood before you started." But the sculptor is not angry with the wood. The sculptor is not trying to destroy it. In fact, the sculptor has chosen this specific piece of wood because of its quality, its grain, and its potential. He is not throwing it away. He is releasing the masterpiece hidden inside it. He knows exactly how much pressure to apply. He knows exactly where the knots are, where the weak spots are, and where the wood must be carved. He knows which pieces must fall away onto the floor as dust, so that the final, beautiful shape can emerge. Chosen one, you are that block of wood, and God is the master sculptor. The rejection you felt was the chisel cutting away the toxic connections that would have ruined your future character. The isolation you are enduring is the sculptor carving out the pride, the fear, the people-pleasing, and the self-reliance that would have caused you to collapse under the weight of your calling. Every single cut is deliberate. Every blow of the hammer is measured by His sovereignty. You feel the pain of the demolition, but God sees the beauty of the temple. If you feel the chisel cutting today, but you trust the sculptor's hand, write, "I trust the chisel" in the comments. Declare that you will not run from the carving. He is carving out room in your character to hold the heavy weight of His glory. You cannot carry the authority of the palace if you still have the shape of the wilderness. You cannot rule in the light if you have not been carved in the dark. The carving is necessary to make you strong enough, deep enough, and resilient enough to stand in the position He has prepared for you. Think about a high building. If you want to build a house that rises 50 stories into the sky, you cannot just start building on top of the grass. First, you must dig. You must excavate. You must dig a massive, deep, and ugly hole in the ground. For months, the site is a mess. It is full of mud, dust, loud drills, and piles of dirt. It looks like ruins. It looks like a disaster. But the engineers know that the depth of the hole determines the height of the tower. If you only dig 3 feet down, the first wind of autumn will blow the building over. But if you dig deep into the bedrock, the tower can stand against the fiercest storms. Chosen one, God is digging your foundation right now. The deeper the pain, the deeper the isolation, the taller the structure of your destiny will be. Do not look at the mud and assume your life is ruined. The mud is the proof of the foundation. This is why the prophet Isaiah offered such beautiful hope to those who feel the heavy weight of the chisel. In the book of Isaiah, chapter 40, verse 31, we find this timeless promise. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint. Look closely at that promise. The strength is not given to those who run ahead in panic. The strength is not given to those who try to build their own towers on top of the grass. It is renewed in those who wait. The Hebrew word for renew in this verse is halaf. It means to exchange. It means to trade. While you are waiting in the silence, God is not doing nothing. He is taking your weak, human, tired strength, and He is exchanging it for His infinite, supernatural strength. You are giving Him your wooden strength, and He is giving you His steel strength. The waiting is the carving. While you are waiting, God is rebuilding your root system. He is making you unbreakable. If He launched you into your destiny without this preparation, the winds of success and the pressure of the spotlight would tear you apart. But because you have endured the chisel in the secret place, because you've sat in the mud of the excavation without running away, you will stand unshakable in the public place. You are hidden right now because the concrete is curing. You are behind the construction fence because the foundation is being poured. Do not look at the piles of dust on the floor and assume your life is in ruins. The dust is simply the proof that the Master is at work. Hold steady, chosen one. The cuts are painful, the hammer is heavy, but the finished work will be a monument to His grace. But even when we understand that the sculptor is at work, the hardest battle is not fought in the outer world. It is fought within the silent corridors of your own mind. It is the fight of faith in the dark. It is the daily, grueling effort to hold on to the promises of God when the emotional weather changes. When you first stepped into this quiet season, when you first heard the call to wait, you might have felt a strong sense of purpose. You felt the presence of God close to you. You had the determination of a soldier. You said, "I will wait, I will be strong." But as the weeks turn into months, and the months turn into years, the initial excitement of the calling fades. The cold wind of doubt begins to blow through the cracks of your heart. You wake up on a grey, rainy morning, looking at your silent phone, your empty room, and your quiet life, and your mood drops. Suddenly, you feel a wave of intense loneliness. You feel a sudden rush of anxiety. You feel a creeping, paralyzing fear that you have missed your chance, that you made a mistake, or that God has simply passed you by. And in that moment of weakness, your emotions begin to argue with your faith. They whisper in your ear, "Are you sure He actually spoke to you? Are you sure you are still on the right path? Look at everyone else. They didn't wait, and they are happy. They are successful. You are still here, sitting in the shadows." This is the exact threshold where many chosen ones fail the test. They allow their changing emotions to dictate their eternal decisions. They mistake a temporary mood for a permanent reality. They assume that because they feel lonely today, God has abandoned them forever. To survive on this mental battlefield, we must learn what C.S. Lewis called the art of faith. Lewis was a highly logical man, an Oxford academic who valued intellect and reason. Yet, he knew that human emotions are highly unstable, easily swayed by the smallest changes in our circumstances. In his brilliant book, Mere Christianity, he wrote, "Faith is the art of holding on to things your reason has once accepted in spite of your changing moods." Read that again. Faith is the art of holding on in spite of your changing moods. Moods will change. It is a basic, unavoidable fact of human nature. Your feelings will fluctuate based on the weather outside, your physical tiredness, a passing comment someone made, or simply how long you have been staring at the same four walls. If you have a bad night's sleep, your mood will drop. If you skip a meal, your anxiety might rise. But your mood does not change the objective truth of God's word. If God promised you in the light, when you were in His presence, that He has a plan to rebuild your life, that promise remains 100% true even when you are sitting in the cold darkness of a Friday night. Your reason accepted the truth of His word because of the evidence of His faithfulness. Faith is the grip, the muscle, the iron will that refuses to let go when your shifting emotions tell you to run away. You must realize that the enemy cannot steal your destiny. He cannot erase your calling. He cannot cross out the decree that God has written over your life. So, because he cannot touch your future, he attacks your mood. He wants to make you so tired, so discouraged, so emotionally exhausted that you pack up your tools and walk away from the construction site before the roof is put on. He wants you to abandon the seed before the spring arrives. But the prophet Habakkuk reminds us that the timeline of God is not subject to our emotional shifts or our human impatience. In the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3, we are given a powerful key to enduring the silence. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. Though it tarry, wait for it. To tarry means to delay. It means it might take longer than your emotions wanted to. It means it will not follow your microwave schedule. But the verse promises, it will surely come. The vision has an appointed time. It is a fixed point in your future. It is not moving. It is not shifting. Your moods may drift. Your emotions may rise and fall like the tide, but the appointed time is locked in by the sovereignty of God. So do not make a permanent decision based on a temporary feeling. Do not break your covenant of silence just because you had a lonely Friday night. Do not go back to the toxic connections of your past, to those old relationships that used to drain you, just to escape a week of isolation. Do not sell your birthright for a bowl of soup. Trust the decision you made in the light when you are standing in the dark. The winter is almost over, chosen one. The seed is mature. The foundation is poured. The master builder is getting ready to reveal the structure. If you are standing firm right now, if you are declaring to the heavens that your faith will not bow to your changing moods, if you are ready to hold your position, no matter how cold the wind blows, I want you to make a statement to the heavens. Type the words, "I am ready," in the comment section below. By typing this, you are declaring that you are holding on to the vision. You are declaring that your roots are deep enough to survive the storm of doubt. You are telling the enemy that your mood does not dictate your destiny. You are agreeing with the timeline of God, not the impatience of your flesh. Hold your position, chosen one. The morning is coming, the sun is rising, and the vision will not lie. And then, when the appointed time of your waiting is finally reached, the shift happens. It happens suddenly. It is the moment when the scaffolding of your winter season is finally taken down. For months, and maybe even for years, all you could see was the dust, the noise, the raw timber, the wet concrete, and the ugly construction fences. It looked like a work site. It looked like chaos. Your friends walked past, looked at the fences, and saw only a mess. But one morning, you open your eyes, and the fence is gone. The canvas is pulled back. The heavy machines have gone silent. The dust is swept clean. And in place of the ruins, you see a majestic, rebuilt house. You stand at the gate, looking at the solid foundation, the beautiful, tall walls, the grand windows, and the wide-open doors. It is magnificent. It is far greater than the tiny, fragile mud cottage you lost in the last season. The master builder looks at you, smiles, hands you the keys and says, "Turn the handle, step inside, it is finished." This is the transition from preparation to occupation. Chosen one, you are about to step into the house that was built in the silence. Every single piece of grief you endured, every door that slammed in your face, every betrayal that broke your heart, and every toxic connection that was cut away was a delivery truck bringing the raw materials for this new palace. None of it was wasted. The demolition of your old life was not a sign of God's anger. It was the necessary clearing of the ground. He had to clear away the weak foundation so that he could build something worthy of your true destiny. He did not want to repair your old broken cottage. He wanted to build you a palace. And now, standing before the finished work, you see the ultimate truth of what the scriptures have promised. In the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 28, the Apostle Paul writes the definitive summary of the Master's design. And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are the called according to his purpose. All things. The silence works for your good. The rejection works for your good. The painful cuts of the sculptor's chisel work for your good. The lonely nights, the tears in the dark, the financial dry seasons, and the quiet waiting. They all work for your good. They do not work separately, they work together. Like the dark, heavy threads of a beautiful tapestry, or the bitter ingredients of a master chef's recipe. They compile together to produce a masterpiece. When you look at the dark threads alone, they look ugly. When you taste the flour or the salt alone, they taste bitter. But when the master weaver and the master chef blend them together, they create something glorious. When you look back on this winter from the hallway of your rebuilt house, you will not feel the ache of the delay. You will see that every single day of the wait was mathematically necessary to align you with this weight of glory. You will forgive the demolition crew who tore down your past. You will thank God for the doors that remain closed, because you will see that they were keeping you from entering rooms that were too small for the giant he was making you to be. So let us pray a prayer of alignment to seal this season and step into the new. Pray this with me. In the quietness of your heart, Father, I trust your design. I release the pain of the chisel and I accept the shape you have given me. I forgive those who mocked my winter, and I bless those who walked away from my ruins. I release the need for explanations, and I rest in your silent, loving gaze. I take my hands off the steering wheel, and I give you full control. I believe that what you have built in the dark is 10 times greater than anything I lost in the light. I am ready to step into my rebuilt house. I receive my keys. I step through the door of my calling. In Jesus' name, Amen. If you are ready to receive the keys and walk into the palace he built for you, type, I receive it in the comments. Claim your entry today. Chosen one, you are no longer a resident of the ruins. You are no longer visiting the empty fields of your past. The concrete has cured. The foundation is solid. The doors of your destiny are open wide. Walk through the rooms of your calling with your head held high. You have endured the winter. You have stood still in the gaze of the Father, and your spring has finally arrived. Before we close, Take a moment to write, "Every ending was preparation," in the comments. Acknowledge that the demolition was only the beginning of your restoration. If you want to continue this journey of faith and walk with us as we study the wisdom of God and the writings of C.S. Lewis, I invite you to subscribe to this channel, C.S. Lewis Sermons. By subscribing, you are joining a global community of chosen ones who are committed to standing still in His gaze and waiting for His perfect timing. Share this message with someone who is currently sitting in their winter. Tell them that the soil is not empty. Tell them that the sculptor is not finished. Peace be with you, child of God. The Master has completed His work.